Hey guys, thanks for tuning into our video blog. I'm Christian Butzek, Realtor here in downtown Vancouver, and the topic of today's video is rain screening. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this. You may hear this when you go to an open house or you're talking to a real estate agent. This is very important. The reason why is if you were ever to buy a place and then a year later or 2 years later it needed to be rain screened, you would have to pay thousands of dollars. It could be $50,000. I've seen it where sellers have had to actually pay over $100,000, just their per unit share, to help their strata rain screen the entire building. So it's really, really important that you know whether or not your building needs this, right? So as a buyer, whether it needs this before you buy. Very important. Now, why is this an issue? Well, Vancouver has a very wet climate, as we know, and from about October right through until April, we get rain, and we've had Octobers where we had 29 days of the 31 were just completely rain. And so, our building, and here's an example of one, is getting hit by a lot of rain. Now, what happens is, during the 1980s and 1990s, specifically roughly 81 to 1997, the building codes were very different, and they allowed for these sort of stucco buildings you see downtown. And we'll just write that down. And stucco, it looks like concrete, but it's not. And if you hit it, it sounds really hollow inside. So that's the difference. Well, the thing with these buildings is they take in a lot of water. And it can be obviously an inconvenience if you get moisture into your suite. It can damage your flooring. But more than that, it can damage the integrity of the structure. So in the late 90s and the early 2000s, a lot of these stratas had to play catch up and had to get their buildings rain screened. Another big issue was if it wasn't rain screened, if an engineer wrote a report about that, obviously the building would get stigmatized. And for sellers, it could be really hard to sell if you know you're living in a leaky condo. And that's really that sort of era of leaky condos that we're talking about. Now, most stratas, not all, but most, have been through the process of rain screening their building. And really what that means is they added like an extra layer. So here's my arm. They just added like an extra layer, right, on top of that to shield the rain, the moisture. And then there's a gap, and the rain and the water or moisture would run down this and exit through these sort of horizontal lines. And this is how you can tell the building's been rain screened. You can literally tell by, if you're walking and you stop and you look up at the tower, if you can see these lines that are running horizontally, that's an indication, that's a sign that it's rain screened most of the time, okay? So that just gives you an idea. Obviously, you would want to know whether or not this is needed, right, before you ever bought the place. And if you're working with a realtor, like someone like myself, I'm obviously very, very careful about this. And this is just one of those issues. I mean, there's roofs and there's parquet membranes and elevators and other things that come up. But you definitely want to be sure that it's been rain screened. It also makes it easier for you to sell it in the future too, which is something that you would want. So I think that pretty much covers it in terms of this topic. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're going to put our contact below. Hope this message has been of value to you, and feel free to share it with anyone who you think could benefit from it. Guys, have a great day.